Hello and welcome everyone to this Business Central Launch event session on what's new in administration. Today we'll cover several topics, starting with an update to granular delegated administration privileges, followed by several new environment operations. We'll talk about service tags and how they can help you protect traffic to and from your environments. We'll move on with some new app management features, and finally we'll have an update on how EU data boundary applies to Business Central customers in the European Union. Starting with granular delegated administration privileges. This is a feature that was introduced about a year ago to replace the old delegated administration privileges that our partners were using to access their customers' environments. Granular delegated administration privileges improves on the old delegated administration privileges in 4 ways. First of all, these relationships are more granular, as the title suggests. Meaning that you can now select any combination of Azure Active Directory roles on your customer tenant instead of the 3 roles that were granted by default in the old delegated administration privileges system. For Business Central, we recommend that you use Dynamics 365 Administrator today as the most granular role that would still allow you to administer your customers' environments, but grants as least access as possible to other parts of your customers' tenants. So secondly, every relationship is time-bound, meaning that every relationship has an expiry date no later than 2 years after the relationship is first created, at which point the customer needs to consent to renewing the relationship, or the relationship would simply expire. Thirdly, the relationship is partitioned, which means that a partner can set different security groups to different roles assigned within a customer relationship. So there's complete control over what users within a partner tenant have what level of access to what customers' tenants, which wasn't possible with the old DEP system before. And finally, GDEP relationships are more private for partner users. So whenever a partner user executes operations on a customer tenant, they would be identified by their AAD user ID as in the partner tenant, which the customer by themselves cannot link to a name for a partner user. This was introduced a year ago, but there's some changes coming, and there's some changes that came out in the recent months that would help you administer these relationships. First of all, for Business Central specifically, we are planning some AAD role changes. So today, the most granular role that would let you administer Business Central customer relationships is the Dynamics 365 Administrator. This role would let you use Business Central on your customer tenants, but also grants access to other Dynamics 365 and Power Platform products. We're improving this by introducing a role that would only let you administer Business Central environments without getting access to other Dynamics 365 products. Secondly, we're also introducing a Dynamics 365 limited administrator role, which would further give customers control over what access their partner has by environment. So a customer could choose a partner to only access a given environment within their tenants, but not other environments, for example. And then finally, we're planning to reduce the power of the help desk administrator role, which right now for Business Central is very close to an actual administrator role, but is probably getting a little bit too much power compared to the power that this role has for other Microsoft products. Secondly, the Partner Center team has introduced a bulk migration tool that helps partners that have many old DEP relationships migrate these to GDEP with implied customer consent, meaning that you can do this in a bulk operation without having to go through every individual customer. Finally, the Partner Center team has introduced GDEP APIs, which would let you automate the creation of these relationship requests so that you can automatically contact your customers to accept a GDEP relationship. So our call to action here, the time has come for DEP to go away and for you to migrate to GDEP relationships, meaning that for new customers, if a customer is already a Microsoft customer and already has an AAD tenant, you set up a reseller relationship and a GDEP relationship in separate requests to this customer. If a customer is completely new to Microsoft and you're creating a new AAD tenant on behalf of this customer, you would be granted a few GDEP roles by default upon tenant creation, and you'd have to separately request access to a role that would let you administer Business Central. For your existing customers, the time is now to migrate your existing DEP relationships to GDEP. You can use the bulk migration tool that I just talked about, or you can do it manually. The Partner Center team will start migrating relationships automatically from DEP to GDEP on the 22nd of May this year. And our recommendation is to not wait for this. The roles that you would get as part of this automatic transition do not include Global Administrator or Dynamics 365 Administrator, meaning that the roles you would get as part of an automatic transition might not allow you to administer your customers' Business Central environments. And the final call to action for your existing customers is to remove any debt relationships that are not needed, either because you're not administering this customer's environments or because you already have a GDEP relationship that lives alongside the debt relationship. Moving on with environment recovery. In the past few weeks, we've introduced the option to recover an environment from the Business Central Admin Center after you delete it. So over the past few years, we've seen an increasing number of cases where an environment was accidentally deleted. For example, because one administrator didn't know why another administrator created that environment. These cases always led to support requests and often led to situations where customers or administrators couldn't access environments to do their work. So we've made it easier for administrators to recover an environment in case of an accident. Moving on to a demo, here we are in the Business Central Admin Center, and we've introduced this button in the top here that would let you see environments that have been deleted less than 7 days ago. As you can see, there's an environment here that I deleted a few days ago. The environment used to be called App Management and has now been appended with a date timestamp for the time that it was deleted. And digging into the environment details page, you would see that the environment was deleted on the 16th of March, which means it would be deleted permanently on the 23rd of March, 7 days after this time. We've also introduced a deletion reason property. In some cases, environments might get deleted for reasons other than an administrator doing it. For example, if a license expired and the grace period ends. And now you'd be able to audit the reason why an environment was deleted from here, which might help you determine whether the environment should be recovered or not. You also notice that on the deleted environment details page, there's still information about the update schedule for the environment. This is because environments that have been deleted remain part of an update schedule until they're permanently deleted. And as you can see, this environment is scheduled to be updated to 21.4 on the 31st of March. Now, if this was a date in the past, it's not at the time of recording, but if it was, then I would recover while the update was scheduled for a date in the past. The update would run as part of the recovery. So this is why the update settings, similar to active environments, are still available here. So you could reschedule the update to a later date if you don't want the update to run as part of the recovery. Finally, to actually recover this environment, so let's say I don't want this to be deleted anymore, I just click recover and confirm, and the environment would recover within a few minutes. Of course, similar to other operations, we have also introduced operations for these environments. So you can see there's the date that I soft deleted the environment, and it also immediately created a rename operation to indicate that the environment was renamed with a date timestamp for the time that I deleted it on. And now as I just started a recovery, you can see the recovery here is running. There's a few things that are good to know as your environments become recoverable. As I just said, they are renamed to include a timestamp at deletion. This serves two purposes. It makes it easy to recognize when an environment was exactly deleted. And if you're immediately recreating a new environment with the same name, that name would remain available as the deleted environment now has a new name. There's a limit to how many environments one AAD tenant can have. So per AAD tenant, we allow for 10 environments that are in a recoverable state. So if you're deleting more than 10 environments within a time window of 7 days, the environment that was deleted first would be permanently deleted, even if the 7 days have not passed yet. Next, as I said, recoverable environments remain part of an update schedule, but will not be updated until recovery. You can reschedule an update from the environment details page of the deleted environment if you don't want the update to run as part of a recovery. And finally, there's APIs for all of this. So you can use the APIs to reschedule an update for a soft deleted environment, and there's new APIs to recover a deleted environment. Next, we'll move on to environment restore, for which I'm joined by Vesa.
Hi, my name is Vesa, and today I will be presenting the new improvements for the PIT restore operation. The environment restore operation is finally out of preview. By addressing several asks regarding PIT restore, this feature is now in general availability. So from now on, you can restore your BCD environment up to 28 days in the past without the limitation of staying in the same version. Along with this feature, we have added a few UI improvements in the Admin Center. So now, after picking a date and a time, You will notice that a text appears below the time box which specifies the version that your environment will be restored to. A new addition to this pane is also the Advanced Options section. As part of the restore operation, you can now choose to uninstall per-tenant extensions, uninstall third-party app source apps, and skip environment cleanup. We have also added a few more details in the operations details page. So now, if a restore operation fails because your per-tenant extensions fails to compile, you will be able to tell that by reading the error message, and you will also see a suggestion to use the advanced options when retrying the operation next time as a way to self-mitigate the issue. In the same way, you will be able to tell when an environment fails during the environment cleanup. A few things that are good to know is that you can use the 3 new flags in the Advanced Options section by passing them through the API. You should be aware that uninstalling extensions from the restored environment will not delete the app or extension data. Also, for the 2 uninstall options, all per-tenant extensions and third-party app source apps will be uninstalled from the restored environment and not just the ones that fail to compile. If you choose to skip environment cleanup, then you should be aware that this may lead to unexpected behavior due to the restored environment communicating with external services. Thank you. Now I'll be handing it back to Joost.
Thank you, Vesa. Next, we'll move on with environment transfer. This feature will let you transfer one environment to a different AAD tenant, which is super helpful if a customer is migrating to a different AAD tenant, or there's 2 customers that are merging 2 AAD tenants into one. But also as a partner, if you have a demo environment that you would like your customers to use, you could have a demo environment ready in your own tenant, which you could transfer to your customer's AAD tenant. Unfortunately, we're not quite ready to demo this feature yet, but look forward to sharing more information about it as we'll plan to release it in the summer. Next, I'm joined by Victoria to talk about service tags.
Hi, I'm Victoria, and I will briefly talk about the newly introduced service tag for Business Central. The idea of restricting traffic coming from Business Central to a specific set of IP addresses has been very popular, and we're now delivering on this idea by introducing service tags for Business Central. Service tags are essentially a set of IP addresses from or to which traffic from a specific service may come. Recently, we introduced the Dynamics 365 Business Central service tag, which allows administrators to restrict traffic to and from Business Central. For services that are hosted on Azure, the traffic restriction can be achieved by configuring firewall and network security group rules that directly reference the Business Central service tag. For example, if you have an Azure function and you want to only allow traffic that is coming from Business Central, you can go to the networking configuration and set an access restriction rule. You click on Add Rule, and on source settings, you select service tag as the source type, and in the drop-down menu, search for the Business Central service tag. And as such, only traffic that is coming from Business Central can reach your Azure function. For services that are not hosted on Azure, you can use the Azure Management API, which lists the set of IP addresses that make up the Business Central service tag. Alternatively, you can access the downloadable JSON file that lists all the IP addresses that comprise our service tag. We are also aware that some of you are interested in restricting the set of IPs that are accessible from your corporate networks. Today, you can use the service tag to restrict access to and from your web services to Business Central. And soon you will be able to restrict traffic to and from the web client, as well as the Teams and Excel integrations with Business Central. Now I will hand over back to Joost.
We'll move on with some features we're introducing to improve the way administrators can manage apps installed on environments. Firstly, we'll introduce an option to auto-update apps during minor updates. So until this major wave, we would only auto-update app source apps that were installed on the environments during a major update. So for customers that were not managing their updates manually or through the API, updates would only install twice a year. By introducing the option to auto-update apps during minor updates, we're increasing the amount of times that an app would automatically update on an environment to 12 times a year. So in this case, the app would automatically update with every minor update and every major update that is installed on the environment. Next, we'll introduce the opportunity for ISVs to run a preview of their AppSource apps. For years now, ISVs have had the option to have a preview of their marketing page on AppSource as they're publishing updates to their apps. So ISVs could go onto a preview page on AppSource that was private to them and see what the final listing would look like in AppSource if they were to go live with that. That preview listing never included the option to actually install the preview version that was being submitted from Partner Center. And we're changing that to allow installs of preview versions. So going forward, if an ISV would like their customers or a select number of their customers to try a preview version of their app, they can share the private preview link with their customers, from which their customers could install it on their environments. Over the past few years, Microsoft has opened several Azure data centers in the EU to deliver on the demand from European customers to have their data stored closer to home. Within Business Central, we've always followed suit and opened Business Central services in these data centers as they became available. As a next step to data storage proximity, Microsoft is now guaranteeing EU customers that their data will not leave the data boundary of the EU. This means that customer data for Business Central and other Microsoft services belonging to EU customers is stored and processed in the EU. For Business Central specifically, this applies when a Business Central environment is created with a localization for an EU or EFTA country. And the data that we cover as part of this project is customer data, so any data that is stored in the customer database for the Business Central environment, as well as pseudonymized personal data, such as user IDs, and support data, which is the data that administrators provide to Microsoft as part of a support request. We believe this delivers on our customers' request to have their data confined within the European Union. And that concludes our content for administration and what's new in the next wave. We have a few other sessions that we think might be relevant to this audience, starting with what's new in cloud migration for administrators that are migrating data from on-prem databases to the cloud. Next, we also have significant improvements to permissions and user management using Azure Security Groups, on which there's a dedicated session. And finally, we have a bunch of improvements to telemetry that also have their own session and would help you administer your environments. Finally, we have several resources available for our partners and customers. I'll specifically call out the governance and administration group on Yammer, where you can engage with us to let us know what you think or to ask questions. And that concludes our presentation on what's new in environment administration. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing you in the Q&A.